What is happening, Honey Badger Nation, man? Welcome to another episode of One Big Fire. And man, we got three great topics for you guys today as we're going to dive into what we're seeing with home appreciation and seeing, the cooling as inventories continue to grow. We're going to dive into EXP Realty as they launched the open source seller advisory forum and talk a little Trump administration. See what he's up to with the CFPB job cuts. What's good, fellas? What's happening?
It's a good week. It's a good week.
Nice. So we got a little swag update. Mr. Stasek, I'll let you as Cuz is rocking some new gear.
The new gear.
Yeah, ours hasn't even hit the mailbox yet. So Jay got it first. Awesome. Soon you're gonna be seeing a lot of the new line that we the legacy line. So we got a new Honey Badger merch legacy line. It's sweet. We got hats, we got the t-shirts, and really cool, like I guess you could call them the hardbound notebooks. Some people call them I guess diary books or whatever they call them, but they're awesome. I love taking mine everywhere. Whether it's a conference or just writing notes when I'm I'm listening to a podcast, jotting them down. We got you covered, and it's going to be great. Go to honeybadgernation.com. Just scroll down to the merch button, and it says Honey Badger Merch Store. You click on that, and you can see all the different things you can pick up, and we're excited. We got beanies, t-shirts, sweatshirts. I'm excited about the hoodie.
Yeah, the hoodie looks dope.
The hoodie, and the other thing too is if anyone's ever bought in the past, the first hoodies that they were putting out, they were just kind of thin. You wash them a few times, they got real thin. We upgraded those to the higher quality hoodie. Mine hasn't even come yet, but I think Allison grabbed one, and they're awesome. So can't wait for that to come in the mail. But check it out, honeybadgernation.com. Get your Honey Badger gear.
Let's go. Also got a little update, Cuz, with our Honey Badger of the Month nomination about ready to roll. Looking forward to throwing that out and adding some celebrating some Honey Badgers. Is our form available? Is it ready to roll?
I'm actually checking it right now. It was built, but I didn't see it on honeybadgernation.com. But it is built. So by the time this is done, we'll revisit it. I'll find out where that form is so you can nominate. And okay, well, how do you nominate it? How do you nominate somebody? Why would they? Kind of go over that real quick, just so since we're on the topic. Why would somebody nominate someone else or even themselves for Honey Badger of the Month? Jay.
Oh, that was a question for me.
Yeah.
So, sorry. I mean, if you know you're a Honey Badger, then I guess you could nominate yourself. But I think it's better for the community for you to notice someone who's being a Honey Badger and nominate them. And it is a coveted award, to say the least. The people that have won this, including yourself, Al, over the years, are the baddest of the badasses in our network of people that are getting shit done, making things happen, relentless. So I think, if you want a nice little swag bag, you want to do someone a favor, you see someone out there doing Honey Badger shit, give them a nomination, do them a solid.
It is, man. We all go through it, right? We're all going through some shit. We're either in it or we just got out of it, or I can promise you one's a coming. And it really is, to kind of test your fortitude in what you're made of. And it's just anything in growth, right? Stewman has, the force of average, but it's true. Anytime you're trying to level up, anytime you're trying to push, which Honey Badgers do, right? Just relentless, and no matter what's thrown our way, we're always gonna find a way, right? And I think that's really what it embodies is the people that just have the fortitude to, nothing's gonna slow them down. They're gonna find a way to reach the objective. They're gonna find to do the thing that they want to do, no matter what is going to slow them down. And so, man, if that's you or the people that you're riding with, that's you, throw them in there, man. Get the nomination, honeybadgernation.com. We want to celebrate some of these badass honey badgers that we have in the Honey Badger Nation. So looking forward to celebrating some amazing people in the coming months. So, all right, let's dive in, guys. Let's hit first and foremost kind of what we're seeing in the market. The appreciation is, article from Inman talking about kind of where they're projecting home prices to go. They're seeing them to slow a bit, but inventory is starting to creep up. I know the conversations I'm having with agents all across the country, that's what we're seeing, right? I know, I remember Kendall talking last year, it was the perfect storm of low demand and low supply, right? But now we're starting to see an uptick in inventory and buyers, having some more options. But what are you guys seeing as in conversation, but also kind of what they're touching on here in the Inman article?
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of markets that are getting a lot more inventory. So, depending on what markets you're in, you're feeling it, probably more so than the average. But certainly days on market going up, certainly inventory starting to climb. And obviously that has an impact on, the projection for house price appreciation this year, which I thought was pretty aggressive originally at, what was it,
3.4%, down from 5.8 last year. We started to see a little bit of course correction. Nothing double digit. I think it was in the 9s was the biggest correction in price, and there was multiple markets throughout Florida, down in the coast areas, down into Texas as well, is where we saw a lot of the course correction. But I mean, do you think we'll start to see any double digit course correction on prices?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. Until you see, you start seeing 120-day average on, days on the market, you're not going to see things, come. You're not going to feel that pressure as a seller. If everything went from selling in 30 days to 60 days, that's still a seller's market. So it's still very evenly supplied, if not still a seller's market in almost all markets. So you're not in a buyer's market, and that has to hit for some time before you start to see prices come down. The thing is, if that does happen, the sellers have the equity to make those moves. So if inventory was high and your home hasn't sold in 90 to 120 days, you're going to lower the price because you can. And if you have to sell it, you're going to lower the price. It seems like it could be headed to that direction, but I don't know that we would see any kind of moving negative appreciation in terms of home prices this year. I don't think that's realistic. The pessimists, they had the graph that shows the pessimist versus the optimist. It's a broad spectrum of what people believe will happen, but it seems like just more or less flat or keeping up with appreciation is kind of the low expectation. And, the high expectation is, ridiculously high. So, it feels to me like, 3% to 3.5% is probably kind of what to expect.
Yeah.
For the next couple of years. And, interest rates could play into that. Obviously, they get these rates down, which, it doesn't look like Jerome Powell is going to listen to Trump. Feels like Trump would like to get them down some more. I think it would be helpful if he did, but doesn't look like he's going to pull the trigger on that. So probably a lot more to come of what we're currently seeing than anything. Yeah.
And I know, every market's different, right? Being able to pay attention to, and, obviously we have a strong following in Ohio, and having a lot of conversations the last couple of weeks. I mean, Al, you guys are still, inventory is still relatively low for you guys throughout most of the part, Cleveland and the suburbs.
Yeah. We're still getting multiple offers if it's priced right. And that's the big difference between, like, let's say 3 years ago, it actually didn't have to be, you could get away with overpricing it a little bit and still get multiple offers. You're not going to get away with overpricing it now but if you do price it competitively, we just had a house that was actually expired, and I'll give you some real numbers. It expired at $400,000 because that's what the seller thought it was worth. One of our agents jumped in, listed it, and convinced them that if they could just list it at $350,000, which is what the market's telling them that they should be at, that they're probably going to get more than that. They ended up getting 6 offers, and their highest one was $401,000. How did it not sell at $401,000 when it was listed at $400,000? Well, that previous agent probably had it up at a higher price, eked it down, by the time they eked it down, it was probably showing 120 to 180 days on the market. And we know that, and I think Zillow is now starting to show these days on the market, or they have it for a while, whatever. But now I think sellers are seeing it. So, the way we're coaching our agents is, look, when you're talking to a seller, ask them, what do you think, like, number one red flag is if you were a shopper, you were a home buyer, and you see a house that's been on the market, what do you think the number one thing that they look at and they think, well, it's probably overpriced? It's not the price, because most people, by just looking at a house and a price, they're not able to just, determine, they're not an expert enough to look at it and say, oh, that's way overpriced. No, it's the days on the market. So if you're seeing the days on the market, it's the number one red flag saying, well, if it's 120 days on the market, then it must not be worth that price, right? So it must be less. So it's going to force the buyer to probably make a lower offer on that property. Yep. However, if you price it right, now the market, the true market, the ready, willing, and able buyers, the people who are serious buyers that are ready to, they're going to buy if it's close. They're all gonna jump on the boat at the same time, and you probably will still get the effect of an over list sale possibly. So we're still seeing multiple offers. They are less and less. It's not 13 offers, it's 3 to 6, but there's still multiple offers, which is still a good sign that there's buyers out there that need a house. I think that inventory levels going up is not an entirely bad thing. Mm-hmm. Think about, someone made a really good point. I don't remember what I was listening to, but actually it was in the training we did. We're doing these AHA meetings. It's agents helping agents. That's what AHA stands for. And it's a lot of the agents that are stuck. And so you have some experienced agents coming in and sharing their wisdom and knowledge. And one of them had said, there's a lot of buyers out there, a lot of homeowners that had bought in 2020, 2021, 2022 that are just not happy with the house that they bought, because they felt forced into the house that they really didn't want. It wasn't like the ideal house, but because things were flying off, they found themselves settling, lowering their standards for what they really wanted for their family, and just going into something that they could make work. So, I think that you're going to have a lot more happier homeowners because they do actually have more of that selection out there. But, hey, if there's 3%, 3.4% appreciation, that's an average. I think I read in the article, guys, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but San Francisco, which you could argue is not a normal market. It's just not normal, right? Like, it's not your average person. Average sale price there is well over $1 million. Maybe it's up to 2 now. And it's very unaffordable. And they have experienced a slight decline in price, but that's normal because it's already massively inflated already. And we're not seeing that in just kind of normal markets. I don't know if you're seeing it in Frisco, Jay. Frisco has been one of those markets, one of the hottest markets in the U.S. People flooding that market to move there, and they've been high prices there. So I don't know what you're hearing from teams down in Frisco, but we're still getting multiple offers in their more normal markets.
Yep.
Yeah. I think,
just as you said, price right. If it's priced right on the button, you're getting multiple offers.
Yeah. I think that's the key too, right? So like a couple examples. So talking with Georgia, so going up north, right into Canada, and used to be able to play the game, come in high, they would come in low, we would meet in the middle where we wanted to be, and then play the game where we were low, and it would drive it up. And she's like, nobody's playing the games anymore. So like she's talking about how critical it is to nail it, right on the button is where we need to be. And I'm like, listen, and this was always our rule of thumb. If there is no real motivation, like if there is not a dire situation that they absolutely have to, do not take it overpriced. And Leanne and I were talking about, she was listening to something Tina was saying, and we've heard it, right? It's like, cool, good luck. Right. When it doesn't sell, call me and I will be your, I'm not interested in necessarily being your first agent. I'm only being interested in being your last agent. And I think that's really what we're seeing right now is like, if there's not like, they absolutely have to, and they're not going to be realistic on price and all the data supports that it needs to be here and they're not budging off of here. I mean, I think you just got to make a business decision. And if you understand your value and your time and they ain't going to get right, I mean, I think it's just like, I love Tina's advice, right? Like, good luck. I'll chat with you when it doesn't sell. So I think it's just making that, and Wally threw in some really good statistics, and I think it's good to understand homes aren't selling for, they're coming off because most agents, like Wally's saying, they don't have a system to accurately price a home in today's market. They don't take into consideration of all of the variables involved. I mean, it's law of expertise, asking the tough questions, factoring in all the different variables. It's all right there that we have to get back to really looking at to be able to position correctly in today's market.
Yeah. I think the other topic that came up in this pricing, it was cool that I think it was Thursday that this meeting happened in Cleveland, was that it kind of brings back all the CHSA principles that we've coached and taught for over a decade. And I believe the number one thing that you guys taught me was we have to establish trust and authority.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that so important? And the trust thing is obvious. Authority. Why authority? Because they're going to listen to you. If they're not going to listen to your advice, that means they're not respecting the advice. They don't believe that you know more than they do. They believe that they know more than you do. And so Wally, along with my mother, are the two, they're ganging up on me saying I need a haircut. And please, yeah, Wally, Venmo me the money. You're right. I do need the cash for a good haircut. So my leave it to Wally to throw the train of thought out. Right. So if you're able to establish that authority, meaning when you're coming in there, showing them that you're like demonstrating that you're an expert. You can't just say you're an expert without, especially now. Look, 2020 and 2021, you could absolutely get away with selling a bunch of listings and not being an expert, slapping them up there, because it wasn't really hard to be a listing agent. If you could land that listing, get them to sign on the line that's dotted, you're going to sell the listing. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to need skills. Now you're going to have to go back to the principles of, what is your plan? What does it involve? How do I raise the perceived value of your property? And can you demonstrate that to a seller enough that they not only trust you, but they look at you as an authority. And when it's time to price the house correctly, they listen to you. If they don't, and you're not able to establish that authority, either it's going to be a long listing, which is going to elongate the amount of time that you're going to be able to land the commission on that, or it's just going to expire and you just wasted all of that time, money, energy, and it's going to go to another agent who they will listen to.
Yeah, 100%. It really is. I mean, I love that. And, it's one of the, I know, Al, you went through the PBD, training for the year. And that's one of the things he talked about in there, right? Moral authority, right? A lot. And it's what he's saying is a lot of you don't have authority and they don't trust you. And so you got to be able to, demonstrate and, your value, people you've been able to help. I think testimonials, I think reviews, I think the actual data numbers and things are more critical now than ever, just because people don't trust. So you gotta prove that you are, you do have the authority, what you're talking about, leveraging the market reports, revisiting KCM, get your real market reports, Altos reports, whatever you have, the data to be able to support, your viewpoint from your experience, I think is really, really key. So speaking of listing tools, let's touch on the next topic. And Jay, I know you want to dive into this one, but eXp Realty launches open source seller advisory form. What the heck does that even mean?
Dude, I love this. This is us over here playing chess. So this is risks of limited market exposure. This is some shit that I would have done. But to see eXp do it, this is awesome. So it literally goes through and explains the financial risk, longer time on the market, limited buyer exposure, no public portals. We're educating every seller to our benefits. This covers, it's important because most agents, the good agents, all know how to leverage this in the conversation and in the listing appointment. This is now forcing that conversation to be had with and educate them to what happens when your home isn't listed on all the portals. And so this is a game we're playing against Compass and anybody else who wants to play the die on the mountain of we're going to have our own little pocket listings. which is a terrible strategy, but they're sticking to their guns so far. But I think this is super powerful, and it's open source, so you can go to EXP Toolkit. I think it's /seller, and anybody can download this and create your own version of it. It's super powerful. It would be it's what I would call the Compass killer form. Like this is how you compete against Compass, and then to back that up, the data, it's in the Inman article. How Zillow views saves and shares impact home price and sales speed. This should be, content that you build into your presentation on the importance of being on these portals. 250 views per day, typically under contract in a week, 75% go pending in 2 weeks, 500 views a day, often sell above list, 5 saves per day, likely under contract in a week, 10 saves a day, strong indicator sell above list price. Like all this is real data of whether if you're not on Zillow, then we don't have data for you. So your odds of selling or selling at a high price and as a percentage of the asking price or above the asking price by being on Zillow and having those views it should be built into your presentation. And again, if you're ever competing against someone who's trying to put this in their own little portal and that doesn't go to Zillow, that doesn't play well with Zillow, their home's not getting that exposure. So this should be a talk track for every agent that's not at one of those companies for sure.
Yeah. And
sorry, John, go ahead.
Go ahead, bud.
Just going to read the one part. And it was like in this form, it feels like something that we would write in one of ours, like, one of our brokerages, I love this because this is like the preemptive strike. Remember we used to teach, okay, some of these agents still use this thing called a CMA to price your house and kind of really talking sellers because we know that if you're competing against that listing, 4 out of 5 agents that are going to show them a CMA.
Yep.
What do? We pull market statistics. We look at homes on the market, not just sales. A lot of people look at a CMA and say, there's 5 sales here, so your home should be priced here. The problem is that the buyers today aren't looking at those sales. They're comparing that house to all the other homes that are currently on the market. If they're going to go shopping for homes, what are they going to look at? 2, 3, 4, 5 homes in an afternoon. And they're going to be comparing your home to the other 4 that they saw, not the solds. So the preemptive strike that they wrote here, so I'll read it. Prior to engaging in any form of office exclusive or private listing network or pocket listing, it's imperative to establish priorities and assess the potential ramifications of restricted visibility on both the buyer demand and transaction results. So, it's think of it this way. And you can convince people by just asking them questions, letting them come to their own conclusion versus just telling them. And a great question would be, Mr. Kitchens, I know you'd love to sell your house you had shared with me that you want to sell your home for the highest price in the shortest period of time. Do you think that you could achieve that through, let's say, multiple offers, say 5, 6, 7 offers, or maybe 1? What do you think your odds are of getting your highest potential price or even over your asking price?
Yeah. Many offers is possible. Yep.
Yeah. Anyone with a half a brain is going to say multiple, right? Well, what do you think if you're going to sign up to this, that they're painting this picture of an office exclusive, this office with Compass or, some of our other, Howard Hanna's trying to do this as well. If they're just exposing it to just those agents that are in that office, what do you think the odds of getting 6 offers over asking price are versus the thousands of buyers that if we were to market it to, into the MLS and all these public facing portals, including Zillow? Well, your odds are exponentially higher of getting that. For instance, the example I was talking about, it was a seller listed at 400,000. It expired. The listing agent, the next listing agent, happened to be EXP, is one of our agents. She recommended that the market's saying you should be listed at 350. Boom, they ended up getting 401. That would not have happened if they had done a pocket listing, office exclusive, or any of these things. So it's actually not a really hard conversation.
No, it's not. So, Mr. Seller, do you believe in the law of supply and demand? Yes. Okay, well, 71% of all sales come from a cooperative agent from another company. So if you're going to be listing with a company, would you not want to be exposed to all of the agents and all the buyers in the marketplace? I mean, this is easy. We would crush any Compass agent on if they stay this course. It's not good for them.
What data points would make the story even more compelling? Would you need to know how many Compass agents that you're competing against, how many homes they sold in the marketplace, how many agents are in the marketplace, how many total transactions? Like if you could articulate a little bit of that data in there as well, how much more, think about it. Would that create?
The number of agents in the marketplace versus number of Compass agents, you're talking about exposing probably to 1%. They have 1%, 2% market share. So you're probably exposing it to 1 to 2% of the whole agent population. And we know that 70% of the buyers 71% of all buyers come from a cooperative agent that's probably looking on Zillow and how they found the property. So if you're going to limit yourself, by two thirds of the entire marketplace by going with that company, which do you think's better for you?
Yeah. I love that. Right. I mean, I think that's an important message for everybody listening in is like, you need to know those little details because it tells a better story. And creates more authority for you being able to, I don't even say argue, but, make your point of like, come on, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you guys are smart. I know you get this. Yep. Right.
A little NLP.
Uh-huh.
So, I know you would never fall for this, but some companies actually have their own portal and they tell you it's better for them. If I know I'm competing against a Compass agent, I can't say that the Compass agent is an idiot. I can't talk bad about them. That does not build trust. So what you can say is, some companies out there actually try to convince you that it's better for you to be on their private portal and not be on the MLS and be, marketed to all the buyers and all the agents that are in the marketplace. I know you would never fall for that, but that's a funny story that some companies that will try to tell you so that they can keep your listing in-house and hopefully sell it themselves, as opposed to trying to attract the most amount of eyeballs to attract you the highest price. That makes sense, right? Like that's, again, now you're saying it without saying it.
I love that, dude. I know you would never fall for that.
Yeah, I know you would never fall.
You guys are smart. You get it.
You guys are smart.
If I didn't know you guys, you walked in my house and you were doing your dog and pony, and you said, "Al, I know you'd never fall for that." I'd be like, "Well, shit, I almost did."
That's when you see the wife under the table kick the husband, like, yeah, that's what that other guy said he was going to do.
Yeah. Bro, the other side of this, like I've been hearing some, people defending this, right? And the only thing and this isn't even legit, but the only one I'm really hearing is this thing that sellers have the right to market their home how they want. You can't, say like they've always had the right. They can do for sale by owner. They could do a, they can sign a form that states they don't want the thing listed at all, and that's fine. But they should know the problem is that agents are being taught by their office managers to basically lie to these sellers and tell them this is better for them. Mm-hmm. And the only entity that wins is the brokerage, because they have a chance of double ending that, keeping both sides, ensuring that if it co-brokes, it's co-broking with two agents within the same brokerage, not an outside brokerage, which makes who the most amount of money? The brokerage. Yeah. I mean,
it encourages bad behavior in the industry. It's never better. Like it's never better. Like it's never better to not hit the market and have a multitude of options of potential buyers of different financing and terms and conditions, all make an offer at the same time. That's when you win the most. You have the best opportunity. That's not better for the seller. And if a company is taking that stance and all the agents are saying the same thing, they're literally lying to their clients. They're lying to them. And that's not good for this industry at all.
No, not at all. Guys listening in, a lot of the things that we're talking about are all out of the articles from Inman over the past week. So if you're trying to follow along, you want to go back. If you are not diving in or don't have a subscription to Inman, get your subscription. All the articles and the things and the information we're talking about is in there. The one on EXP comes from BAM, which is another great source. Nowbam.com, a tremendous resource to be able to go get all of the things that we're talking about. So, guys, let's move into.
Go to EXP. Hold on, I had it up. EXP Toolkit, I think is what it is. Yeah, exptoolkit.com, and you can download all the stuff from EXP, whether you're at EXP or not. So it's open source. Use it at your leisure.
I love it. Awesome.
Thanks
for sharing that.
I love that form. I think it's so gangster.
I love it.
I love it.
All right, guys, let's talk about the last topic of discussion for today. Talking about the Trump administration making its case for massive CFPB job cuts. What's our thoughts here?
Less government is better.
It's we remember when that came about, and I believe one of the biggest reasons they formed this new government entity. I was actually blown away when I saw it's got 1,700 employees.
Yeah.
I mean, that's we can do a whole podcast on government waste and why, these bureaucracies are just growing to be out of control. 1,700 employees, but it was formed to protect consumers against predatory lending that, they were, no document. You don't got to prove your income. You just state your income. And there were all these wild and wacky, wild west loans being given out to people that they just couldn't afford it. And at the end of the day, they wrote the loans anyway. They closed these loans anyway. And I don't know, I don't know what the percentage was, but it was just a huge percentage, a tsunami of loans going bad and into foreclosure. And they needed an entity to step in and say, hey, look, we can't be doing these loans. You got to watch out. Also, the appraisal part too, protecting against inflated appraisals, because that was the other thing that people were doing was the values were going up at such a fast pace that they could get an appraisal to say, could you appraise it at 500,000, even though it's only worth 400? The values were going up so quickly that the appraisers felt, this is safe still. And a lot of those guys got thrown in jail too. So I think that the intention behind the entity was good. And ain't it always, almost always. But just like anything, it started getting bloated, lots of wasteful, hey, you get a job. Next thing you know, you blink, we pick our head up, and there are those loans don't even really, exist anymore. You don't have stated loans for the best of my knowledge. And now we're starting to see some more creative things, but like an ARM, for instance, and not just your traditional ARM, where it might make sense to do it, where it's slowly an ARM loan, like, year one goes up by maybe a quarter of a point, year two goes up by another quarter of a point. And that's just a gradual. And I like that one better than after year three, it goes up, to whatever the LIBOR is. And so people get into trouble. Their mortgage payment, was going from, let's say it was $900 a month to $1,500 a month. Well, all of a sudden now it's unaffordable. Those people are going to start to fall behind. And for that reason, I like that, a little bit of oversight. But it's obviously Trump comes in as Trump does and says, we're taking this sucker down to 200 employees from 1,700. And I think a judge upheld it, but said, look, you have to prove to us that you could still run this agency, effectively with 200 employees versus 1,700. And I have faith that they could do it, but we'll see. I like seeing smaller government. I like seeing less regulation, not to the point where it starts to hurt a consumer, but there is a happy medium, and I think we're going toward that.
Yeah, there's no doubt, based on what we've seen the last 4 months, that there's probably inefficiencies in the current structure. I would imagine.
Yeah, my thought just with thinking through kind of a green light, yellow light, red light with AI, and getting things in alignment, right? Like if things aren't in alignment, you ain't going to be around. And so, immediately when I start seeing this and all the, things of how regulation and put things there, and I'm like, can AI not do that? Can there not be some, can you not have 10 people oversee it with the power of AI? Like that's where my mind goes. And I think that's, if we're not thinking that way, if you're not thinking about how am I, getting in alignment, right? And we talked about it the last few times, like discipline over disruption. What is not going to change? What do I need to focus on within my control? Where does the alignment need to be? And like when I hear this and see this, and I'm like, oh, if they do what they do and they had to do it with 100 people, how would they do it? And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I just see a lot of disruption. I see, that just doesn't make sense as we continue to move forward.
They probably got a bunch of paper files on their desk, and they probably, use a dot matrix printer. And I mean, it's probably old school.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. So I think, too, on the AI conversation, a little bit off topic. And I was just thinking, having a great conversation with another honey badger. We'll give him the honorary title, Mr. Brandon Town, and was talking to Brandon this morning about a lot of, kind of the direction and AI, because it's been on his mind. It's been on a lot of people's minds. Just as you start to try to, figure things out a little bit differently, and how, there's always got to be a better way. And we were discussing it, kind of this morning, and talking about, the one thing that will not get disrupted is a real community, right? A real environment, people that you can really lean on. And that's, to me, that's what we have here, right? That's what Honey Badger Nation is a real environment to really lean upon each other, to be able to know that we got, some people deep in the trenches that are actually doing the work that we can lean on and, really pull from to continue to grow and continue to move forward.
Yes, sir. So, Wally, I just got a little notification. He sent me $25. Personally, Wally, I think that the reason you sent me the $25 is because that's just a little deposit on the money you're going to owe me when the Cavs smoke the Celtics and the playoffs coming up here, which is fine. I'll hang on to it. You're probably going to owe me a little bit more than that, but appreciate the deposit on that lost bet.
What's up, Pat Hayes? What's up, Jason P. Jordan? My brother.
What's up, guys?
What's up, fellas? So, guys, I know we're going to continue rocking and rolling. Pay attention, dive into honeybadgernation.com, grab your swag. Also get the nomination up. We will start to announce May will be our first Honey Badger of the month. We're talking about some cool stuff that we want to do to celebrate the Honey Badger of the month, and throwing around some ideas, what we want to do for a Honey Badger of the year. So get the nomination in.
That nomination link was just posted on mine. We're going to get it to you guys so you can post it up on your wall for your audience to listen to this. We're going to post it at honeybadgernation.com here. We're going to put that link up there. Should be by the end of the day. And we will also put it in the Facebook group, Honey Badger Nation Facebook group. We love you guys. Appreciate you joining us today. Guys?
Yes, sir. Guys, we'll see you. Big fire. Yes. We'll see you later.